Welcome back, everybody, to to another rendition of the Insurance Panel,
Watch Talk Special Edition.
Watch Talk Special Edition. This is going to be a good one. I know Nick and I share a lot of similar things on sales methods. We don't always agree, and that's kind of what we like. By the way, we love the activity and the questions and the feedback that we got from having Chris on. Chris, you're awesome. Hope you're watching. It was good to have you on, my friend. But sometimes we don't agree, but a lot of times we do agree on sales methodology and things like that. It seems like we've read a lot of the same books. We've watched a lot of the same videos. So we tried to do it one time where we watched a really bad sales video. That wasn't so bad. It was just bad for final expense, but we completely botched it. We forgot that Zoom had a share screen option. So we wanted to try something new. So you guys, unfortunately, going to be our guinea pigs again.
If it doesn't work, nobody ever has to see the video. We can just scrap the video.
Very true. For some reason, I feel like it's going to go up anyway because it's going to be good talk. I think really people just enjoy the banter. They, some people, they just like, it's kind of like almost like a podcast. It's kind of what people explain when they're watching our show. It's just like, man, I just love the banter that you guys have, or I love just hearing you guys speak, so much about final expense. So, love having you guys. Thanks for all the comments, for welcoming us back. So we're trying to be regular here.
As much as we can be.
As much as we can be. It gets busy, but we're here today. So how the heck are you, Nick?
I'm doing good. It's been a busy week. I got a lot of irons in the fire, and it's been gearing up for Medicare season and all sorts of stuff going on. But it's been good. It's been good.
When's the cutoff date for like not contracting, but like if you need a release, like September 1, isn't it?
Oh yeah. No, if you need a release, you probably wanted to get that done a couple months ago. Like it's definitely possible to get releases and stuff, but like you want to be like,
you should have already been done.
Yeah. If you're going to be trying to switch and get stuff released, it's like I said, it's not impossible. You can definitely get contracts moved, but it's going to be September by the time this video loads, and it is very busy at the insurance companies right now, so everything is slow, and just the contracting itself could take like 6 weeks.
Gotcha.
Just the time of year. Best to always get your Medicare stuff taken care of in March, because that's when everybody's just come back from vacation and things move very quickly.
It's good to know. Write that down, guys.
March is when to do your paperwork and moving around your contracts, and then you don't have to worry about it.
And hopefully you don't have to move your contracts very often. Hopefully not. No. Sometimes you do.
Sometimes stuff happens. I mean, sometimes stuff happens against your will. Like
it's very true.
Uplines go out of business. Stuff happens.
It happens. What are we watching? I know you. I want you to reveal it because I think it's super cool.
Okay. So we're gonna watch something from Ben Feldman. He made a movie called "The Man from Eastern Ohio" or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
That's not actually what we're watching. We're watching a clip from that movie, kind of. But more importantly, he gave a talk at the $1 Million Roundtable back in the very early 80s.
Like, it was like 83 or something like that.
Yeah. And in that particular talk, they take a clip from the movie which was made in the 70s, in the late 70s, like 76, 77. And they kind of break down. They have a clip in the movie where he gives an actual sales presentation, and they just watch him giving an actual live sales presentation to a prospect. Now, it's a prospect that had already bought from him in the past, which is why he was able to do that. But he gives a sales presentation, and there's some really good stuff. So Ben Feldman does not sell anything like Final Expense. Okay, no. He I believe he's dead now. But he did super, super high net worth clientele. Was an agent with New York Life, wrote several books on sales techniques, is a legend in the insurance sales industry. And And so what he did is not what we do, right? It's very much not what we do.
But
I'll let you pick that up, Matt.
yeah, but a lot of the things that we see today, a lot of the things that happen in final expense, like I remember watching this video and I'm like, that's where that company got that from? I'm talking about the check, like you pay this one, we'll pay that one, right?
Yeah.
And we'll get into that. Like a lot of the things that are done today in most insurance sales are based on the things that this guy did.
Invented.
Like,
yeah, pioneered. So a lot of stuff that he does. And some of it's applicable. Like we're gonna watch the whole presentation and then we'll kind of go back and watch little bits and pieces of it and talk about it. And then there's a couple of bits where he's talking about stuff afterwards. There's just two little sections that I kind of want to touch on afterwards. If you want the whole presentation, it's like a 45-minute talk that he gave for the $1 Million Roundtable. That is, I kid you not, like 90% talking about taxes. And how like terrible taxes are. And it has absolutely no, that part is not applicable to us, but the other stuff is. And it's cool stuff. So.
And while you're pulling that up, he sold for
New York
Life, right?
Yes. Yeah. So it's very cool stuff. Where did this go?
And we'll put a link in the description so y'all can go watch the entire video, because I think you need to. Speaking of taxes, I just paid some too, and oh boy,
yeah, it's a lot about. They talk a lot about tax laws that have changed, that are no longer applicable tax laws. They talk a lot about estate tax and inheritance tax laws that don't exist that way anymore. Yep. But there we go. So we are both on the screen now.
Yep.
And let's watch a little bit of this clip. And if at any point you want to pause it and say something, Matt, just kind of wave your hand.
I really think, Nick, that we should watch it all the way through, similar to what they do in the movie.
All right, and then we can go back.
And then we'll stop. We'll kind of analyze a little bit. And if we want to take out certain parts, we can kind of play it back.
Sounds good.
All right.
David?
Pete, you've been very successful and built a company that's running quite a lot of money. Would you say if you pile up everything you had in a great big pile, that might get pretty close to that figure?
Well, that's what the corporate you keep telling me. I mean, I guess so.
Well, and you're still running hard, I believe, aren't you?
Mm-hmm.
Well, you know, if you're still running hard, then it's going to grow. The tax, by the way, on this, if something happened to you, would be this. Hard to believe it could be that much money. That means it's taking about half of everything you own and giving it to the tax collector. To give you just a bird's eye view of what I would try to set up for you, I'd set up the money for the tax collector, and then I'd set up a trust fund, and that would pay out that amount per month, which after tax would net about this amount. Pete, I don't think Jean could get by much less than this. Or she could get by probably on whatever she had to get by on. But if you want her to go on living, if you've accustomed her to living, I imagine she'd need the bulk of that, wouldn't she?
Yeah, I suppose.
Well, you know, to do this, we've got to add something to your program.
I was afraid of that.
Well, see, it isn't that I'm creating a problem for you. Here's the guy that's creating the problem. There's the guy creating the problem. And frankly, that's what he's going to do. And to give you an idea that it's very real, there's an estate tax table. And take a look at where you are on the table. You get an idea of the tax on the estate. And it gets pretty rugged. And you'll get to a point where, gee, unless you make some provision beforehand, I don't know how you'd pay it. I don't know how I'd pay. I don't know how anybody else do it.
We have to have it. But we have to be pretty accurate here, too.
Well, yes, you do. But that figure, as you grow, see, that grows. And as we continue having inflation, that will grow. And so that's a forever changing figure. And the thing that happens, see, today you're insurable, and maybe tomorrow you're not. And so today, if you're insurable, let's do it today. See, I've got discounted dollars, and you like to have dollars. You like to have money. And what you ought to do is use an insurance dollar to pay what has to be paid because it is a discounted dollar. Why don't you let me pay the tax on your estate? And leave your total estate to your family.
Well, that'd be nice.
Well, if
I can afford it.
Well, here, let me show you how maybe you can afford it. Now, there's a tax in your estate, Pete.
Boy.
A New York Life will pay that. If your company will pay us that.
That's a lot of money, Ben. This is over and above what we're doing now?
It's over and above what you're doing now. But see, so is this over and above what you're doing now. Pete, if you relate this to this, do you notice it's less than 2% per year? If you'll find the little one, we'll find the big one. I'll pay the bill. I'll pay the bill. I'll pay the bill. I'll pay that if you pay that. If you don't pay this, and you don't have to, but if you say no, well, then we'll say no.
You know, I like
That's stuff. There's some things that I watched now that I just saw that I was like, the guy is brilliant in everything that he does.
Yeah.
I
mean, can we talk about, like, just to start off, how he talks, how he carries himself, the way that he talks to his prospect? I mean,
Right.
and it's a person that he knows, but
Mhm.
at the same time, like, he's soft spoken. He's not like all up in your face, but he's not a monotone zombie. He's not flat. He's talking. He's having a conversation with somebody he's treating like he's a friend, right?
Right.
You know, they're being friendly with each other.
And they're having hard conversations.
They're having a hard conversation, and he's doing it gently.
And he's also just pressing that issue
Right.
very, very gently but firm.
But emphatically.
Yes.
Yeah. Like,
So I want to go back real quick, and this might just blow my eardrums out. So just
All right.
for a second, I want to find this. Can you hear it okay if I
let me
hear
see.
it? Let's see here. So there's a part that I just missed. I'm going to find it. Here it is. Right here.
Mhm.
So watch what the client does. Hang on.
Want her to go on living as you've accustomed her to living. I imagine she'd need the bulk of that, wouldn't she?
Yeah, I suppose.
Well, you know, to do this, we've got to add something to your program.
I was afraid of that.
Well,
The client, I don't know if you just saw it now, but you probably did. The client tried to take control of that presentation.
Yep.
The client tried to skip ahead and move forward because, oh, we need to add something. Let's just go ahead and get this out the way. I don't really want to talk about this. Where are we going with this? And he gently stopped him and took control.
And this is one of Feldman's existing clients. It's not like this is like this is somebody that knows him.
Right.
And like, yeah.
But he kept the control from the client, but he also, and this is important, he also didn't skip a beat from his script because he was saying, I'm not the one creating your problem. This guy is creating your problem.
Right.
And showing, Taxman, right?
Yeah.
That I was like, pfft.
Well, and also like on this, look at the picture that we're looking at right now. If you look at how he set himself up, again, This is, they're sitting basically knee to knee. He's like right next to this guy, close enough that they can both be looking at this same little flip chart that he's got there.
Mm-hmm.
And he's directly facing the guy, but they're not across the table from each other in a confrontational position. He's like almost whispering in his ear. He's almost like, hey buddy, this is the thing that I'm doing for you. Like, we're in this together. We're on the same side of the table. We're doing this together, and they're sharing that space together, but he's very clearly in control of the space. And there is so much about, managing and controlling space, especially in final expense homes, turning off the TV and being courageous enough to say, hey, I need you to turn that TV off.
Yes.
Setting up at a table instead of sitting on a couch where you're across a room from each other.
You don't want to sit in a couch where the husband's here and the wife's here.
Right. Or at a table, honestly, like that. You don't want that split setup where you're having to like ping pong back and forth.
Nope.
Do
you sit at the head of the table?
Well, it depends on where they're sitting. Like if it's a husband and wife, then no, I don't, because then we're going to be in that ping pong situation.
So what I'll do is I'll sit at the head of the table and I'll say, here, you sit here.
Mm-hmm.
Who I believe has like the most control in that house, or the one I'm really trying to focus on, and then I put the next person right next to them. I don't say sit across.
Yeah.
So because
I try to be in a situation where I can see both prospects easily at the same
Mm-hmm.
time. But if I'm able to, I actually always prefer to be next to the person like that. So if it's just me and one prospect, I will sit on the same side of the table as the prospect.
1,000%.
Well,
no, I always sit at the head of the table, but if they'll be right here at the corner
mm-hmm.
or to my right, but I'll be similar to this where I'm leaning in and it's here.
Yeah, that works too. Where as long as you're kind of next instead of across from each other, you've got that kind of next to each other.
Correct.
Type of vibe.
So it's almost like I'm sitting just like he is on the screen.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. And that's a big deal. So also some of the words he's using. You notice he never talks about an insurance policy,
mm-hmm.
ever. He never says the word insurance policy. The guy knows he's talking to him about getting a new life insurance policy. He never says insurance policy. He says your program. He says a trust fund. He says an estate. He says in an escrow account. He never says the word insurance policy.
Correct.
Ever.
And the guy knows it's his program. He doesn't say my new life insurance policy.
No.
He said his program.
It's his program. It's part of his portfolio. And this is a thing that like people who work with me and who work with Travis Tubbs. I mean, Travis Tubbs talks about this all the time. Also, it's your portfolio of your products. The program that we are assembling for you. We are creating a program for you.
Mm-hmm.
It's not about any one individual policy.
Right.
And I think that, I don't know that it directly stems from this, but that's exactly the same thing that Feldman's doing right here. And that's a really important, thing to do because people don't want to talk about insurance. Insurance sounds impersonal, and it's something that they feel that they know about, and it makes them think of like car insurance and health insurance, but they all want to deal with, their wealth, even if they don't have anything, and especially if they don't have anything, honestly.
Right. Can I go back to this spot right here?
Where he crosses his arms?
Yep.
Yeah. Go for it.
All right. I'm going to turn it up a little bit. Sorry, guys. We're working through this whole thing. Hang on.
I don't know how you'd pay it. I don't know how I'd pay. I don't know how anybody else could. There's the guy creating the problem. And frankly, that's what he's going to do. To give you an idea that it's very real, there's an estate tax table. And take a look at where you are on the table. You get an idea of the tax on the estate. And it gets pretty rugged. And you'll get to a point where, gee, unless you make some provision beforehand, I don't know how you'd pay it. I don't know how I'd pay. I don't know how anybody else could. We have to have it. But we have to be pretty accurate here, too. Well, yes, you do. But that figure, as you grow, see, that grows. And as we continue having inflation, that will grow. And so that's a forever changing figure.
I guarantee you, every single time that Ben Feldman gives that presentation, he takes his glasses off at that exact same moment.
Oh, 1,000%.
Right?
That's the I know I got you move.
Right.
Because what he's doing is he's making you. He's like he's getting down on your level. He is saying like, dude, honestly, he is like driving the problem home of like, dude, what are you going to do? What's going to happen? So if you're in final expense, it costs $12,000, Miss Jones, to take care of a funeral.
Who's paying for this?
I don't know. That's a problem. That's a problem for a lot of people.
Yeah.
If I pass away right now, like that's $10,000. I don't know how you pay it. That's a lot of money.
I don't know how I'd pay it. That's a lot of money. Like, I mean, I don't know anybody who can write a check for $12,000 at the drop of a hat and not have it hurt. Like, if they can do it at all, right? But even if they can do it, it's going to hurt.
Right.
It's a lot of money.
It's a lot. I don't know. That's a lot, And so he's driving that home, and the client's, has got his arms folded, so he knows he's in a.
Yeah.
It's not it's a defensive position, which is like he's really starting to contemplate. Like, if you look at this picture right here, he's like, the hell am I going to do?
He knows it's a problem. Like,
he knows the problem. He knew it was a problem before Ben got there because Ben had been following up with him. If you watch the rest of this video, and you should, he said like Ben would pop his head in every month or every 3 months just to stop by and say, "Hey, you got time for old Ben?" Because Ben knew that this guy had a problem, and Ben wasn't trying to sell him insurance. Ben was trying to fix his problem that he had.
Right. And it's no different than what we're doing.
Correct.
It's a different problem. That's it. It's a different problem, but it's every bit as real of a problem.
Mm-hmm.
And so much of what we do is about mindset, right? Mm-hmm. Like, so much of what we do is about how we think about things. And that's something that I want to skip to a little bit later. Once we finish doing this, because Ben talks about that.
Yep. But there's another thing that he does is, in the client here points, and he says, well, that sounds cool and all. However, that number that you graphed here has to be accurate.
Yeah.
So he was giving a defensive answer of like, well, that's only if that's right, then I have to get a new program. And Ben said, no. That number is correct, but that's for today's numbers. We're not talking about the future numbers.
Right.
And he created a further problem that, hey, if you don't take care of this now, it's going to get worse.
Yeah.
Right? Which is what we do in final expense. Miss Jones, if you qualify today, you don't have to worry about this ever again.
Well, and he goes on, a little bit later than this, he says that line about today you're insurable, which is actually one of my favorite rebuttals.
Yes.
And is a line that I did not know came from him. Maybe didn't come from him. Maybe because the version I use is worded slightly differently, but it's a great rebuttal of, we know you're insurable today. These programs are based on your health. We don't know if you're going to be insurable tomorrow. So while we know you're insurable today, let's get it taken care of today.
Yep.
Nobody knows what happens tomorrow. Ben Feldman says a lot. I'm calling him Ben like we're buddies. He says nobody has a lease on life a lot.
No one
is
has
not
a lease on
something
life.
I feel particularly comfortable saying, but is like one of his lines. But it's true. Nobody knows what's happening tomorrow. Everybody who dies today had appointments on their calendar for tomorrow. And next week and next month.
There was something else. Well, I'll just play a little bit. I'll play a little blurb when you talk about it.
Yeah.
The thing that happens, see, today you're insurable, and maybe tomorrow you're not. And so today, if you're insurable, let's do it today. See, I've got discounted dollars, and you like to have dollars. You like to have money. Yeah. And what you ought to do is use an insurance dollar to pay what has to be paid because it is a discounted dollar. Why don't you let me pay the tax on your estate? And leave your total estate to your family.
Well, that'd be nice.
Well, if you
I can afford it.
well, here, let me show you how maybe you can afford it. Now, there's a tax in your state, Pete.
Boy.
New York Life will pay that. If your company will pay us that.
Before we move on, can we pause it right there?
mean,
Because there's two things. Like, so he's going to be getting to something else that I
Yep.
think I want to talk about. But that idea of discounted dollars is another thing that's a big Ben Feldman thing.
Mhm.
That's like his famous thing.
Yep.
I don't know how much it applies.
Well,
to our people.
You could say, you're going to need a lot of dollars to take care of this, and I've got discounted dollars. Pennies.
Pay $25 a month, get a $10,000 policy.
Yeah.
You put $25 in right now.
He says it. I don't know if it's later in this video, but he says, I've got discounted dollars. They're pennies a piece.
Yep. He doesn't say it in the presentation. He talks about that later on in the lecture, and that's his big thing. Like he talks about that all the time. The discounted dollars, put pennies in the bucket, pull dollars out. That's the thing that I like about it, though, is that idea of use insurance dollars to pay for this. Let me pay for your funeral.
Right.
Let New York Life pay for your funeral. Let whatever insurance company you're using, whoever let the insurance company pay for your funeral. You leave your stuff to your kids.
Yeah.
You don't have to pay for your funeral. Your kids don't have to pay for your funeral.
Let me do this for you. Let me do it
for you.
Let me do it. Let me do it.
Yeah.
Right.
And again, this is not to say that you should be altering your presentation based on this, or that you should be use the system that you've got, but it's something to think about and kind of have rolling around in the back of your head a little bit.
After watching this video a couple weeks back, I wanted to go to Staples or Office Max and go get 2 checks like that big. Yeah. And then for whatever company I'm using for that day, I'd say, look, here's your funeral, and hold on to it. And let the person hold on. This is your estate tax. It's $2 million. Let them hold it. And it says funeral home, right? And then let them hold it and feel it and say, if you pay this and write it down, this is where you write the quote out. Right. $10,000. You write $10,000 check. We'll pay this. We'll pay that check if you pay this check.
I mean, Settlers Life used to actually, before they stopped selling final expense, Settlers Life used to actually, deliver to any agent who asked. They would give you a big check and a little check, physically a large check. It was a big deal for them that you'd have this big. It was huge. It was a huge check. It was like a novelty size check. It was like this,
really,
literally like this big. And then a little check that was like the size of a normal check. And that was their presentation that they would tell you to do. They would say, hand them the big check and then write in the quote on the little check, and use the big check, little check. And that was coming directly from this. I mean,
it had to be. There's no way. Yeah,
move,
right.
100%. Now, I don't think that that's a move that resonates with our market right now. That specific move, I think is a little bit hokey.
So when I worked at my first company, we had a picture, and it was just like this, and it said, which check would you rather write? The $10,000 to local funeral home, or a small affordable amount made out to blah 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 blah.
Right.
And they would choose. I mean, to be honest, if you asked them the direct question, they would choose a smaller amount each time.
Of course.
And then it would be, well, how much is it?
Right. And you've got to, and not that this can't work. I mean, it feels a little old fashioned, although some of our people might like that. But the idea behind it more importantly than the actual props.
Gotcha.
I don't know that you need the props. I don't know that we really require the props. Some agents, though, might need the props. Like, I don't know that it's a necessary thing for the prospect, but it might actually be a necessary thing for you as an agent. It might help keep you on track.
On track.
Because a lot of times where agents go wrong is they get in their own head.
Well,
and that's really what the props do. They keep you on the rails.
He's showing it in this presentation. He's super prepared. He has a binder specifically for this client.
Yep.
Right? Because he's writing a $21,000 annual check.
Yep.
Right? So he's pretty prepared for this policy. I don't know what the commissions were like for New York Life in the 80s or the 70s whenever he sold this person, right?
Right.
But it had to be a nice check.
Oh, yeah. I mean, his worst case was he was making like 60%, right? Like that on an annual premium. This guy was writing a single annual check. He was not writing monthly. This was not direct debit. He was going to be writing one check.
One check.
And, you know, I mean, and frankly, if it was us today, we'd be keeping the whole thing. You know, that would basically be a check to the agent for that first year.
Correct.
You know,
but still, he made a lot of money. But he's super prepared. He had everything laid out. He has presentation laid out. He has props ready, and it kept him on pace for what he was trying to accomplish.
No matter what happened.
No matter what happens. Doesn't matter if the person's folding their arms. Doesn't matter what they tell you they can or cannot do. Great. We'll get to that in a second. Move forward with your part of the presentation.
Right.
And keep moving forward. So if you do not have that ability to do that, and you've been doing it like Nick or myself for a long time, I don't know if you use a presentation book anymore, Nick, but
I haven't used a presentation book since I started selling Final Expense. You know, I don't. I use a one sheet. Mm-hmm. I do have a one sheet that I use.
Sure.
But that's pretty much all I use.
Sure, but it's the same thing over and over and over and over, right? Guys, if you find a presentation or something that someone is teaching you and say, like, what's the same presentation I'm going to do over and over and over again?
And then, like, everything about it. Like, again, like we said, him taking off his glasses, I don't know who could pay this. I don't know that I could pay this. I don't know anybody who could pay this. Like that, 100%. He does that exactly that way every time.
Honestly. It made me want to buy.
I know, right? It's like, shoot, do I have a tax problem? No, that tax problem doesn't exist anymore. The laws have changed. That's not how taxes work anymore.
Yep.
But, yeah.
You want to move forward?
Yeah, let's move forward. Let's get to this a little bit, and then we'll skip ahead.
Okay.
Because this bit's cool.
It's over and above what we're doing now?
It's over and above what you're doing now. But see, so is this over and above what you're doing now. Pete, if you relate this to this, do you notice it's less than 2% per year? If you'll find the little one, we'll find the big one. I'll pay the bill. I'll pay the bill. I'll pay the bill. I'll pay that if you pay that. If you don't pay this, and you don't have to, but if you say no, well, then we'll say no.
I love that. Like, I love that repetition right there. You know, I'll pay the bill. I'll pay. And that's another Feldman thing. That's another thing he's famous for. But that's, you know, using that repetition to, like, drive home your point to the point where it's like it's almost ridiculous that he says it as often as he does.
Right. And to the point where the client's laughing at him because he's done it before to him.
Right. Because again, this is somebody that's already bought. It's not like this is a new client, but it's the same presentation.
Right.
You know, he doesn't change it up. So I don't know. Like, I just think it's just a lot of little stuff that he does really, really well. And even though not everything is directly one-to-one applicable, I feel like, you know, watching something like this can help you develop good habits.
Right.
In the things that we were just talking about, like not even specifically his phrases and his lines, because those are like, he's got some good ones, but that's not the big deal. But like how he talks to the client, how he manages the room, how he, like, that's all, like that's the stuff right there. You know, that's what makes it. You could have somebody saying the exact same words who didn't have everything organized that way, and who was sitting far across the room, and who was just like rapid fire talking real fast, and
Had the TV playing, the client's watching TV,
and saying the exact same words, and the whole thing wouldn't work.
Correct.
And that's the bit that I think is really important. It's not about the words. It's about you as the agent and how you're managing things. The words are nice. The words are helpful. But the words are for you. The words are giving you the guidepost. Mm-hmm. The client is not buying your words and your fun phrases.
Nope.
They're there to make your life easier as the agent. For the most part, some stuff's actually legit.
I wouldn't say the last thing he said was just like, if you don't pay this, and you don't have to, well, we just won't pay this.
Yeah.
Which is a very bold move.
It's a bold move.
But it probably works better with those type of clients. Final expense, I don't know if it'll work for.
I don't know, man. It might
it's
not.
It's almost like a challenging thing.
I know. There's part of me that wants to be like, listen, I'll pay your funeral. I'll pay Matthew. I will pay your funeral. I will pay for your funeral, Matthew. Matthew, I will pay your funeral if you can write me this check. And if you don't want to write that check, and you don't have to, your kids are going to have to start a GoFundMe page.
I don't know what you're going to do.
I don't know what you're going to do. They'll go beg on the street for it. I don't know. They're probably going to really hate you after you're dead. But I'll pay your funeral. You just have to write that check. I don't know.
And then
it could work.
It could work. I'll try it. I just got appointed with a new company that I want to go try out, and I want to try these new leads that I'm developing.
Oh, I so badly want you to use big check, little check. Use the big check, little check, and
I'll do it. I'll do it.
Report back. That's awesome. Yes,
I will report back. I'm also going to hate when I have to report back with 0 sales, but
yeah. No, that'll be okay though.
But, it don't work, guys. Don't do the big check, little check thing. I 1000% will do it, and I will also try. If you don't pay that, and you don't have to.
Yeah.
Well, we will not pay your funeral. I'll pay your funeral though.
Right.
But you need to pay that.
Watch the video a few times so you do it the right way. But yeah,
I'll do it.
With the repetition and everything. I desperately record those. Bring them in. We'll listen to them. I want to hear how those go.
I'll do it.
Cool.
I'll do it.
Awesome.
It'll be fun. I want you to try it too. I want you to try it.
No, I like my system. I don't need to mess up with my system. But there is good stuff. This is, I think, actually the most important takeaway from this whole video. What we're going to watch right here.
Okay.
If I got the timestamp right, we'll find out. Maybe having to find it, but I think I got the timestamp right. So.
Yep.
Any other man, the biggest sale I make is the one I make to myself. If I don't think that I have something that will really do for him what should be done, I'm not even going to call. And if I don't buy it, I can't sell it. Now, Pete had a problem. Very successful, making a lot of money, but he had no money. He was wrapping it up. And he had a private operation. He'd love to pass it on to his boys.
We're good. We can.
Where are you going?
I don't think there's anything else in there that we need to talk about, but I think that idea right there, I think that's a piece that a lot of agents that I talk to are missing, legitimately missing, that they are not sold themselves on the idea of whole life. Simplified issue. We see, I talk any kind of whole life necessarily, but I see a lot of times agents are not, man, I talk to agents all the time who want to start looking at universal life for people, who want to start writing fully underwritten policies for people, who start questioning man, if they live for 10 years, they're going to pay, almost as much into it as the policy is going to pay out. And those agents never
make it.
They never sell. They never, because you have to be sold. Like there are 1,000 reasons why final expense is the best thing for our clients. Better than a GUL, better than a fully underwritten whole life policy, better than a term life policy. There's 1,000 reasons, but if you don't believe them, doesn't matter, right? Like
But most people can't get around their head. I'm sure you're probably getting to the same point. Is the people, the true final expense people, the bulk majority, 95% of the clients that you sit down with cannot and will not save money for their funeral.
yes.
Even if they tell you, if I start right now, Matthew, in 7 or 8 years, I'll have enough money.
How's it worked out for you so far?
You're 70.
Yeah.
You haven't done it so far. I agree with you 1,000%. I agree. You would 1,000%. However, with this, if you die tomorrow, we're going to take care of the funeral.
And that's why like price shouldn't matter, you know? And this is, I mean, and I sell very competitively priced products, but I also sell way bigger premium than most agents do. My average premium is pushing $80 a month right now, which for a final expense agent is astronomically high. But I believe in the products that I'm selling. And I sit down and I have a conversation with people. And I control the room and I address their need, right? And that's the other thing is I address what they actually need. I address their problem. I don't try and sell them life insurance. And that's, I mean.
And you believe that. You wouldn't
right.
call them. You wouldn't call them if you didn't believe in what you're doing.
Yeah. You know?
How many people realistic, like if you go, I just talked to somebody today and she's in her 40s and her grandmother passed away recently. Mm-hmm. And she was like, it was a nightmare, Matthew. It was a nightmare. It was a nightmare whenever she passed away. Mm-hmm. We had no idea what to do.
Yeah.
Nothing. And I was like, you work with an IMO, like you're the contracting lady for an IMO. You know what I mean? Like, I could have definitely helped you,
right?
You know, help with that stuff. But like, your grandmother didn't have anything set up. She did not have like the policies in place where they needed to be, and like they didn't change the beneficiaries. They didn't plan out the funeral. They didn't do all those things. They just were up in the air. And it took 4 months to get everything settled. Super important.
It's terrible. And it's more common than you would think, you know, like more people are final expense people than you would expect. It's just life right now, you know. But it's important that you have that piece of the puzzle straight in your own head. Mm-hmm. and that you're not just pushing product. You know, you're not just slinging policies. You know, you are showing up and presenting problems, getting your client to articulate that they understand they have a problem, and then solving the problem. It's just really, really important. And a lot of agents have a hard time with that, especially when they're new. And they're like trying to fumble around with their presentation, and they're trying to learn how to do everything and hit the right moves and hit the right marks. And you will do so well if you screw up your presentation, but you are sincere in your attempt to solve and identify and solve problems. And you understand that the solution to the problem is a final expense life insurance policy. You will do fine if you are sincere in that belief and you are sincere in the attempt to solve the problem. If you screw up your presentation, that's recoverable. If you are insincere, it is not. And you will lose every time.
Yep. So I'll give you an example. Someone that worked here, like we have a call center, and the girl came over and she was like, "Matt, I need your help. Like, the guy's 64 years old, and I think I want to get him like a whole life with like a term rider. Should I do like Foresters?" And I'm like, "Why did like what? Tell me like." And I was trying to get the information, and she's got him on the line, right? And I'm like, "What is he trying to do?" And he's like, "Well, she's like he's trying to get as much coverage as possible." I'm like, "What's his budget?" "Well, I don't know." And I went, "Royal Neighbors, easy to sell over the phone.
Right.
Royal Neighbors, say, figure out his budget, and then sell him what's in his budget."
Yeah.
Well, 30 minutes later, they got done with the interview, and $54 is what he could comfortably afford, right?
Right.
And then sold the policy.
Right.
And I went, "You're overcomplicating it. You don't need to sell a whole life with a term rider
No.
to a 64-year-old.
That's not an appropriate sale for most people who are working final expense leads.
Correct.
It's not. If that is where your mind has gone to, you are probably wrong. That's probably the wrong solution.
I said 95%. Would you believe it's really 97, 98%?
Yeah, easy.
Like easily. I've sat down with a few clients that like I remember I've written up one universal life policy, and it was to a 60-year-old woman who was in incredible shape. And she was like, "I don't take any medications. I lift. I do this. I want more than what you're able to offer me." And I looked at her and I said, "What's your budget?" And she said, $200 a month. Great. Let's look at a GUL. And I sold it. But that was the only time. Other than that, it's final expense.
Yeah.
All day, every day. I carry the other things in my bag. I carry them in my bag. So when she says, "What are you going to get for my grandson?"
Sure.
Right? I get to educate the family on what insurance really is. Hey, I can get them a term.
And it's not like I haven't written some term. And it's not like I don't write single premium policies. It's not like I don't write the occasional universal life policy and IUL and annuity. I do sometimes. But I write maybe 4 or 5 term policies a year, right? I write some annuities. I write more annuities. I write maybe 3 or 4 GUL policies a year. I write a couple $100,000 in single premium a year. I write 400 final expense policies a year.
The numbers don't lie.
Like it's dramatically skewed. Like the correct answer almost every time is a final expense life insurance policy. It just is. That's what we're doing. We're working final expense leads. They are targeting a particular demographic. It takes the guesswork out of it for you. That's why we do this way. And so like having that internal belief, like being all in, being sold out to whatever system you're working with. If you're working with one of the large IMOs or with a small boutique IMO or just one guy, their system, you picked them for a reason.
The reason that I made it at a captive insurance company for my first 2 years, right, Nick, and you knew me back then.
I did.
Right? You couldn't tell me anything. Right? I believe so heavily in their product. I believe so heavily in the company and their process and everything about them, right?
Yep.
The point where sometimes you'd be like, "Man, Matt's making a great argument here." Right? Like he's completely wrong, but he's making a great argument.
You fought the good fight.
I fought the good fight.
You were sold it. You were sold on it though. And that's why it works. Right?
Because I was sold out on it
and
what it represented. And it was final expense. I mean, it was final expense.
And people make fun of some of these, MLM groups and like Primerica and some of these agents from different various groups for being cult-like. And that's not really fair. You know, these are people who have bought into their system. Now, you may not like the system. You may not think it's the right system. You may think there's all sorts of things wrong about the system. But them being all in is actually, I mean, that's kind of a good thing. Like that they have all of these agents who are so all in and all on board with their system. Like there may be things you don't like about the group or the company or the insurance company or whatever, but I mean, they got agents that are sold,
Right.
you know, and that's, if you're not sold, you're going to have problems, you know. The most important sale is selling yourself.
Yep. Someone needs, Ryan, that needs to believe the blurb that you put in at the, you know, that's the good part.
Yeah.
You got to be sold out on what you're doing. You have to.
Yeah.
You made a really good point about like people make fun of these like cult like programs. Like you're 100% right. Like you have to be so sold out on what you're doing. And like, but just like I was so sold out. Like it wasn't like I couldn't hear anything else.
Right.
I listen to you. I understand what you're saying, but here's the value of what I do and what I'm bringing to the table. Right.
I mean, yeah, don't be a dick.
Right. Don't be like, don't say trash value. Right.
Yeah.
You know,
right. And yeah.
Yeah. That's the problem is those people.
Yeah.
But hey, if you believe in just buy term and invest the rest, then like, that's
or if
great.
you believe in, you know, owning equity shares in your IMO, you know, there's all sorts of groups out there that have all sorts of various 3 and 4 letter initial combinations that get people all hyped up about their product and their process. And
it works. They save millions of dollars.
Man, my first job in insurance was working for a company who was founded by somebody who became best known as a motivational speaker. Like I mean, and we would do rah-rah chants and it works. It does. It works. It gets you like, I don't know.
And at the end of the day, even if, well, I don't even say that, those people that they're selling to, even if it's just one policy, they're insured.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't care if their IUL is a little screwed up. They got coverage.
Right.
They believe in insurance.
Yeah. And so like, I don't know. This is not like the defense of MLM companies.
No.
Corner. Like but you know, there are things that we could potentially learn from them as independent agents, and maybe, you know, take that be all in on what you're doing attitude to heart.
Well, I think one thing I've learned from those type of companies, even the company that I first started with, is they weren't trying to recruit brokers.
Right.
It wasn't this comp battle. It was not this 5 points here, 5 points there, 5 points here, 5 points there. It was, hey, this is something new that you need to check out.
Right.
Try it. And guess what? Because you brought that person to that system, they're sold out on your system until they find something new. You know, you get to mold them into the person that you want them to be. They don't have bad habits. It's so hard to break a bad habit.
Yeah.
It's so hard. And so if you've been doing something wrong, like you got to start learning to unwind what you've done for a long time and like start getting better.
Yeah.
Like watch videos like the Ben Feldman video, read books on sales, study. I know it sounds nerdy, but like study final expense.
Yeah.
Study it, like learn it, understand it.
Find out who the people who have been really great at it are, and like don't go by Facebook. Like, there's a big Facebook community of final expense agents, particularly right now. The community used to only be kind of like 50% final expense agents and mostly other people, and now it's gotten very final expense heavy. It's very strange.
Well, it's just due to COVID because now the mortgage protection is gone like bonkers, and there's gonna be some people say like, well, it's because of that.
Yeah.
They're saying what's the easiest sell, right? How do I make my money?
It feels very weird to me. But But like, find out who like the legit like people who go on conventions every year. There are them. I go on vacations with these people. I know who they are.
Yeah.
Like the people who make trips every year.
Yep.
Year after year. Find out who they are. They mostly don't post on Facebook. Very few of them have the ADD that I have.
Nope. What's the guy? Bearcat.
Yeah, sure. Bearcat Brent. Awesome guy.
I've never heard of Bearcat until you brought him on.
And he's got a very memorable name. Like you.
Yeah, I would know that name if I saw him post a lot, right?
Multiple convention.
Multiple convention. Hell of a producer. Great guy.
Yeah.
Doesn't post on Facebook a lot. Doesn't use Facebook to try to recruit.
Yeah. So yeah. Things to think about. We've veered wildly off topic. So
it's fun. It's fun.
I was gonna say, so let's maybe wrap this one up because
sure.
I think we've been going for a bit.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, there's some other stuff that I want to talk about, but we can save it for another video. We got more videos in the future.
Well, guys, tell us what you thought. Hopefully the audio comes in clear. I really hope it does. I got a new watch. You got a new watch.
Oh.
I got a new watch. I'm super excited about it. Guys,
right. It was gonna be Watch Corner.
It was going to be Watch Corner.
Yeah,
we decided not to be, but tell us what you thought. Post it down in the comments. Seriously, guys, it helps us so much as far as the algorithm. Every week we're getting emails. We're getting like comments of people watching past videos.
Yeah.
You know, the one video we had like 1.5 K views, like 1,500 views. I never thought, never in our small niche of Final Expense but it's going to continue to grow because there's more people coming in, right?
It's Final Expense. When we started doing this 2 years ago now, almost it'll be 2 years in November.
Yep.
I guess maybe October because we were doing some stuff on Facebook before we did.
Yeah.
Like the Final Expense community on Facebook was much smaller than it is now.
So welcome all you new producers.
Hi guys.
Welcome to Final Expense. It's going to be a rough one, but it's going to be a fun one, and you can make a ton of money, and it's really, really enjoyable once you understand it. I think really, I don't know. We'll get into it later. Yeah, guys.
Videos for days.
Videos for days. We'll never run out of content. But guys, comment, like it, subscribe, whatever you got to do. Help us out. Share the video out. It needs to go out to somebody. Thanks again, guys. Talk to y'all soon.